This episode of Distraction is sponsored by Landmark College, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Visit lcdistraction.org to learn how Landmark College supports students with ADHD and other learning differences. Find your place at Landmark College. Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell with a mini episode of Distraction. This past Sunday, the most recent newsletter that I sent out. By the way, I have a newsletter for those of you listening who don't know that. And if you would like to subscribe to it, obviously it's free. Just go to my website, drhallowell.com, drhallowell, HALLOWELL.com. So go to drhallowell.com and just enter your email address and you will automatically be subscribed to my newsletter. It comes out roughly once a month. In every newsletter, there is a feature called Note from Ned. And the note that I wrote for the most recent issue evoked a strong response. I always get some people writing in response, but this one, lots and lots of people wrote in response. So I thought I'd sort of summarize what it had to say. You know, you have to read the actual thing to get the real flavor of it. But it was about a Sunday, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, when I went to church with my wife, as we do every Sunday. We're Episcopalians. Don't worry, we're not scary ones. We basically, we believe in love, and we go to church to celebrate love. But after the service, she had a brunch to go to, so she went her way. And then I went my way. And normally after church, I feel refreshed and inspired. But for some reason, this particular Sunday, I just felt a wave of sadness, not due to anything in particular. But I just felt this wave of sadness. So I said goodbye to Sue, and then I had to go do some food shopping because I make dinner for us on Tuesday nights and I buy the food on Sundays. And I went off to Whole Foods to get that. And I also buy flowers on Sunday after church, another little ritual because we try to have fresh flowers in our hallway. And I walked in and there were these beautiful daffodils, which I just love. So I bought 80 daffodils. They were on sale. It wasn't that expensive. And believe me, 80 daffodils sounds like a lot of daffodils, but you put them together, it doesn't look like that many. So I bought my daffodils, did my food shopping, and then drove home. And when I got home, there was my son Jack working on the front porch, thank goodness. I was thrilled to see that. And we said hello the way, men do, not much emotion involved. And I went in with the idea of working on the book I'm trying to finish. And Sundays are a special time for me because I have free time, uninterrupted, where I can work on my book. And so I went in and sat down at the laptop, and after putting the daffodils in a vase, started to write. But I discovered I couldn't. I just felt this sadness. And, I'm pretty stern with myself. I agree with Samuel Johnson, who said any man can write if he will set himself to it doggedly enough. But as dogged as I tried to be, I couldn't do it. The words weren't there, and it was just blocked by this feeling of sadness, not related to anything in particular. Just feeling sad. So I went in the living room and lay down on the couch, and with the notion that, it would pass. But it didn't, and I just sort of lay there. And so I said, all right, enough of this. I got up and went back to the laptop, and with the idea being that maybe just sitting and staring at the screen, some words would start coming. But they didn't. And then my wife came home, and she said, oh, honey, you're probably just tired. Why don't you go lie down for a little while? And what I love about Sue is she always puts such a commonsensical and sympathetic spin on things. So I took her advice, went up, lay down, couldn't go to sleep. My mind was still sort of spinning. But then I began to feel the sadness subside. It was like a fever breaking. I began to feel the sadness subside, and I began to entertain ideas for what I'd write about and, what I should put in the chapter. And so I went back downstairs. and sat at the keyboard, and I was able to write, but I didn't work on my book. I didn't take those ideas that had occurred to me up in bed. I wrote the note from Ned that went out in the newsletter, and it was about my experience that day of dealing with sadness. And the reason I wrote about it and shared it with others is I think a lot of people have this sort of thing. It's not depression. Believe me, I know what depression is. I've treated it in many people for many years. This was not depression. I didn't feel hopeless or suicidal or, just the bone-dry, empty feelings of depression. I just felt sad. But sad enough that I couldn't really do anything very creative or productive. It was just a weight, a fog, a heaviness. And what I want you to know is Sue is so right. It does just pass. It does pass. Nothing lasts forever. That's why we hospitalize people when they're suicidal. Instead of saying, okay, go ahead and do it, we say, no, we're gonna put you in a place where you can't do it because we know you'll change your mind if we wait long enough. Unless you have some terminal illness and you've decided that you want to die. But most people who become suicidal will change their mind as long as they don't kill themselves in the interim. Well, I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't depressed. But I was sad. Ordinary sadness is what I call it. But it feels anything but ordinary. If that happens to you, try to remember that it does pass. Try to cut yourself some slack. Try to not do what I do and say, well, you should be able to do this. Get to it. No, cut yourself some slack. Allow yourself to feel the sadness. Sometimes you can discover things about life, about yourself in the sadness. Sometimes it can deepen you in certain ways. Don't fight it, I guess is what I'm saying. The title of the note was Entering into Sadness. Let yourself enter into it. Let it settle down around you. You really have no choice, but try not to feel that it in some way is a mark of weakness or something to be feared. It's just something to be experienced, lived through, and learned from. Well, that's what I wrote about in my note from Ned in my newsletter, and that's what I'm sharing with you all in this mini episode of Distraction. Thank you all for listening. This is Dr. Ned Hallowell with a mini episode of Distraction. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. Our recording engineer and editor is the dapper Pat Keogh, and our producer is the brilliant Sarah Guertin.